This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 in relation to the so-called white man being godless. Right? The elite of so-called Esau being Amalek. This is their MO. Right? This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." And that falling away is us actually going into another round of captivity, circa 70 AD. Right? That's the falling away. As it says in Jeremiah 17:4, "You shall discontinue from your heritage." Right? This is a critical aspect to knowing who we are today. The fact that you don't know who you are is evident that, and a heavy indicator that you are the children of Israel. Because for you to be calling yourselves black, white, red, any of these legal statuses that are misnomers and bywords and proverbs, that's evident, that you fell away from who you truly are as an Israelite from your respective tribe. Right? But it's saying that the wicked, written up in Malachi 1 and 3, would not be able to be revealed until we actually had to go through the curses, all the judgments written. He had to go through a time of rulership, as pursuant to Job 9 and 24. It says the earth has been given into the hand of what? Malachi 1 and 3, the wicked. Right? The wicked was created for the day of evil. Right? So these judgments had to actually roll out, and we have to go through them. Right? All the prophecies written must roll out until the prophecies pertaining to our salvation come to fruition. You have to deal with the prophecies pertaining to destruction. One more time, this is 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." And that word perdition means destruction. Verse 4, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." Right? This is a completely godless. Right? It said that in Psalms 58 and 3. It said that the wicked are estranged from the womb. Going back to that wicked written up in Malachi 1 and 3, Esau Edom is the border of wickedness. Wherever this so-called white man travels, hurt, harm, terrorism, anguish, suffering follows him. This is why 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3 calls him the man of perdition, the man of destruction. Because in the earth, as pursuant to Isaiah 5 and 20, Isaiah 5 and 20, Psalm 17 and 15, sweet is called bitter, good is called bad. Isaiah 29 and 16 talks about the turning of things upside down, being esteemed as if that's how God made them. Where the so-called white man calls the victims the criminals, when the word criminal actually comes from the root word crimson, which means red, being called red-handed. But the Most High actually gave them the ability to do their devilishment in the earth until what? Their bounds were appointed that they could not pass. And at that point, that's when the man of perdition is going to be revealed. Because right now, through the media, its various forms, paper, cell phone, television, radio, you see who they demonize, who's put as the face of criminality, thefts, child abuse, women abuse. They're gonna always put a so-called black, Latino, or Native American in the seat of the demon, of the criminal. Why? Because, hey, this was the Most High's determination, right? And the scriptures say, "Woe to them that call evil good, that put light for darkness, sweet for bitter." Like it says in Isaiah 5 and 20, Psalm 17 and 15, I don't want to pull it, but this is why the man of perdition has to be revealed. There are people that will actually defend the so-called white man to this day by saying things like, "Hey, I don't have to worry about the white man in my community. Why, Jake? Because crime is based on proximity. If you lived among the white man, you'll be dealing with all of the different adverse conditions that you face dealing with so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. But if you don't, that's because, hey, we're relegated to being the poor, the impoverished, the disenfranchised, the marginalized. So, hey, crime and poverty, they have an affinity towards one another, right? Us being relegated to the position of the have-nots. Here it is, people look at the so-called white man, woman, and child as if they're non-threatening, as if they're loving. No, they've already inherited everything that their forefather robbed, pillaged, raped, and mutilated our people for. So you don't have to see their horns now because they're at rest. As far as the wealth gap, this nation's wealth, they're hoarding it to the point where they don't have to go out here to eat. They have to steal. They don't have to go out here and compromise their integrity or join into other nations to get support, to get a leg up. Why? Because, hey, they've been put in a privileged position, right? Because a lot of Jake, if you look at the reason why they go and they do these crimes, it relates to us being relegated to the poor, right? Let me bring this out in Jeremiah 42 and 22. But our people don't have compassion for one another. Neither do they have a historical understanding of who they are and why they're here in the first place, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 42 and verse, it might be Isaiah. Let me see if it's in the book of Isaiah. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 22, and it reads, "But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none said deliver. For a spoil, and none said restore it." Right? Let me bring this out one more time. This is Isaiah 42 and 22. It reads, "But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none says deliver it. For a spoil, and none says restore it." Right? But the point is, this is a people robbed and spoiled. Right? Spoiled and robbed. All of the wealth that your forefathers and your foremothers labored tediously over half a millennium to generate, it was robbed from them and given to a whole nother nation as an inheritance. Right? Spoiled. They were promised 40 acres and a mule. Why? So that they can provide for themselves, so that they can establish an economic base, like it tells us not to do in Micah 2 and 10. But have our forefathers, have our people ever been given repair, restitution, support, 40 acres and a mule, free anything? No. You see nations come from around the world, from the Ukraine, Afghanistan. You know, you even have the Japanese who were detained in internment camps, right? But they've all been compensated for the wrong that's been done to their people, right? They just weren't robbed and spoiled, but they were treated as members of the global family that had sovereign rights, right? But as far as the Lord's people, right? Let me bring this out one more time. But this is the people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. For they are for a prey, and none says deliver. Because you actually have the prison industrial complex where millions of so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are being housed, being profited off of, being experimented on. But America as a whole is a vast prison, right? And you will find that out if you try to leave here without certain permissions and documentations, right? You'll realize that this is a prison where you have mobility. You can actually travel from West Coast to, you know, the East Coast. But even then, you better have the proper registration. You better have the proper licenses. Don't do like the Moore Science Temple niggas and try to create your own tag and say Well, I need, I'm not, where they say, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. Because driving is commerce. Traveling is, you know, they always pull out these different Moore Science Temple, Noble Drew Ali talking points before they get their documents confiscated, paper terrorism, and you get thrown into a jail because you try to usurp these court curses. If you are an Israelite, if you are within the confines of Babylon the Great, there's no Black's Law Dictionary, no Moorish science, or no information that you can provide to usurp being obedient and dealing with these curses. Look at Malachi Z. York. Malachi Z. York was a nigger from up north that actually came down south, and he was in Georgia. He built a compound, you know, with plywood pyramids, and I mean, it looked like the damn Giza Strip. It looked like the Giza Plateau, the Nile Valley. He did it over here in Georgia, and what did the FBI as well as the GBI, what did they do? They went with construction equipment and toppled over those so-called pyramids. Because Jake, in his heart of hearts, he knows that, hey, we are the children of God, but Jake don't want to serve out these punishments. Jake want to find rest on this side, right? And that's what we cannot do. One more time, Isaiah 42:22, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. Therefore pray, and none says deliver. For a spoil, and none says restore. Because this is the restoration. This is that exceeding great army being called to line up, fill your posts, take your position, stand in your lot. Because that's the restoration. The children of Israel being reconciled back with the Father through the Son, right? This is how we draw nigh to the Son, right? Because Yahweh Shai said, I come in the volume of the book. It was written of me. So how do you take one step closer to Yahweh Shai? Getting into the word and being obedient to the words that are written. What it said, for a spoil. We've been devoured in this place. The nations that are round about, they have total desire and fully persuaded in their mind that we're going to be perpetual slaves up underneath them, right? Let me get this in the book of Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 16. Hey, but we have a more sure word of prophecy. This is why Jeremiah 30 and 11 calls us prisoners of hope, right? Well, let me get that real quick in the book of Zechariah 9 and 12. That's why the Bible calls us prisoners of hope. Majority of our people, they've taken on their mind to join their enemies. A lot of our people, as I was saying, have taken on the mind to join their enemies. Why? Because like that old saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. They see the condition of our nation, and they look at the nations round about. And in their mind's eye, they can't see us being raised and elevated and dusting ourselves off and actually advancing past these other nations to the point that we're ruling and subjugating them. So what do? You have a movement among our women, they call it divesting. When they're saying, I'm gonna leave the Black, Latino, and Native American man alone, and I'm gonna join the other nations around about, because women follow power. Because women follow power. Women follow influence. Women don't have what you call integrity. They're devoid of wisdom. So in the same fashion as their foremother Eve, they're being beguiled in this time to do what? Separate from their nation and believe that they can find greener pasture on the other side with the other nations, right? Let me bring this out in the book of Zechariah chapter 9 verse 12. And it reads, turn ye to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. When I have been Judah for me, filled the boat with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece. O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. Right? But the point I wanted to make, it says in Zechariah 9 and 12, turn ye to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. We have hope. Hope is not lost. Why? Because the prophecies written lets you know that it says, when I have been Judah for me and filled the boat with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, the Israelites, against thy sons, O Greece. It tells you explicitly that how the Grecians, the modern day provide Roman empires, right? Esau, Edom, this rulership. It tells you exactly how it's going to fall. It says, I'm going to raise you up, O sons of Zion, against the sons of Greece. So we're patiently waiting. Our hope is not based on nothing. Our hope is based on these prophecies. And that's more than enough. Because the Most High could have cast us off and not left us a record on who we are, how we got in this condition, and how we're going to get out of it. But with this understanding, we have hope. This is why Jeremiah 30 and 11 calls us prisoners of hope. Why? Because our hope is founded and is based and is substantiated on what's written. And what's written tells us that, hey, well, let me get this. This is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 16. Let's get on some of these judgment precepts, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 16. We're prisoners of hope, but our hope is based upon these prophecies. Jeremiah 30 and 16 reads, therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and they that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. I just read in Isaiah 42 and 22, hey, that we are people robbed, spoiled, hid in prison houses, and hey, none said deliver, and we're for a prey, right? But we have hope in knowing that, hey, everything that's been done to us, the Most High said that he's going to restore and pay unto them double, right? Going right back to Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 16, we bring this out one more time. It says, therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, right? Revelation 13 and 9, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Who are the saints? Psalms 148 and 14 lets you know the children of Israel are the saints. Hey, that gives us hope. We know that we haven't been cast off, like I brought out earlier in the book of Jeremiah 30 and 11, in Baruch 4 and 5. But we've been brought low to be corrected and measured. We understand that. We are in time out. We are serving our jail sentence, because that's what America is to the children of Israel. Right? This is the land of our captivity. Right? Jeremiah 30 and 16. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured. All thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil. And all they that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, said the Lord, because thou called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. Verse 18, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places. And the city shall be built upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. All they that devoured us will be devoured. Who touch you touches the apple of my eye, right? Because our God is a man of war, and we're a warrior class people. And we still have that spirit within us. But the Most High is going to activate it. He said that I'm going to repay them according to my fury and my anger, right? And I'm going to get that in a second in the book of Ezekiel, or it might be Zechariah, right? But it's letting you know that, hey, it's no way that we can be mad enough. In our mind's eye, there's no way that we can have a historical understanding and an idea of the gravity of the hurt, harm, and damage that's been done to us. We can get mad at the so-called white man for the things that we read about in our historical documents, the things that we learn about in media, you know, circa the slave trade and going forward. But there's no way that we'll be able to truly get the grasp of the devilishment and the hurt and the harm and the terrorism that's been imposed on us. This is why the scriptures let us know that the Most High is going to repay them according to his anger and according to his fury. Let me see if I can get that real quick, and I'll jump back, right? It's not going to be according to our anger and our fury, right? This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 9. All right, let me get this in Ezekiel. This is Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 12. All right? Come. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 25 and verse 12, and it reads, Thus saith the Lord power, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance and have greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and I will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it most desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. Here's the point. And I will lay vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury. And they shall know my vengeance, said the Lord power. So we're going to do in Edom according to his anger and his fury. He's going to pour out his spirit on his elect to execute all of the judgments written. Right? Let me jump back to Exodus 15 and 3. Because I said God is a man of war. Right? And with us being a warrior class people, that's exactly what the Most High going to do. Right? He's going to make us as that battle axe, as the sword of a mighty man. Right? This is Exodus chapter 15 and verse 3, and it reads, The Lord is a man of war, Yahweh is his name. Right? It said that the Lord is a man of war. Right? The Lord is a man of war, Yahweh is his name. So it's only right that his people, his men, his nation, we are warrior class people. But hey, we've been relegated to being peasants. And although our men still have that war spirit, they don't know how to apply it appropriately in its proper time, in its proper season. You know, our people will become very warlike, very aggressive with one another, but that's a curse. Because when our people, you know, this white supremacist talking term, black on black violence, whenever you see black on black violence, that's what you see. Our people taking that warlike persona and applying it to one another, harming one another. Because in the Bible, it chronicles battles where we ran through and we sliced through these nations like butter. And they know who we are. This is why they've gone through such great measures to turn us against one another. You know, to make us have an evil eye towards our brother. Right? One more time, this is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 20. As I said, our God is a man of war. All right, this is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 20, and it reads, Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms, and with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces the old and the young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. Right? But here's the point. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and I will destroy kingdoms. So a lot of times when people read the Bible, or they hear about the Bible, I'm talking to the camera, but I mean, you're here, you know, but a lot of times when people hear the Bible, when they think about God, you think about God as being all love, right? When you think of the Bible, you think of God as being all loving. Does God hate? God is love, right? What's your name, sister? Can I get you on camera? No, I mean, just for the edification, right? You said that God is all love. And that's just based on, you know, you going to church. Have you ever been to church?
I used to, I don't go no more. I stopped going.
Why you stopped going?
I just don't. I don't go.
What's the reason?
I don't have no way to get there. I don't go.
Oh, okay. But you don't have a problem with the church, do you?
No.
Okay. Well, one thing about the church, they don't really tell our people the truth. Because God, his spirit don't dwell inside of that building. You know how you think if you go into that building, you can't do certain things because it's like, it's holy. They say it's holy grounds, right? Some people, they tell you can't smoke on church grounds because it's holy ground, right? They tell you that you can't do certain things like lie in church because it's a holy building, right? You can't be in church fighting and doing things that are wicked, because a lot of our people, they believe that that church, that building, is actually where the Lord's Spirit resides, right? So I just want to bring out a scripture real quick, just to let you know that, hey, church is the people, right? Church is the believers that gather together, right? Let me bring this out in the book of Acts, chapter 7. This is Acts 7 and 48. You know the sister, she just not listening. But I'll bring this out for the edification of the camera. Acts 7 and 48 says, howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as said the prophet. Heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. What house will ye build for me, said the Lord? Or what is the place of my rest? Right? But the point is, howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as said the prophet. Right? So a lot of people's understanding is that the Lord's Spirit dwells inside of that building, when truthfully, the church is the building, right? The church is the people. That's who the church is. And furthermore, the people comprise of the church. And any man that says that he's a servant of God or a prophet or a preacher, because that word preacher and the word prophet is synonymous, you weren't commanded to go inside of a church, but behind a comfortable podium, a regulated temperature, you know, building, and do what? Go into the Bible and pretty much speak your own words, right? 1 Peter 4 and 11 says, if any man speak, let him speak the oracles of God. But if you go into these churches, you're going to be given one precept with a lot of emotionalism, and you're going to be fleeced. They're going to take up an offering, and you're a spiritual man. And when you come out of the church, your spiritual man is going to be more deficient, right? Because women are emotional. That's why 80% of the church is comprised of women. But as it pertains to the man, the Lord's true servants, because it says in the scripture, the sheep of my pasture are men. This is who the Most High is dealing with. It even says that in 1 Corinthians 11 and 3. The head of every woman is the man, and the head of every man is Yahweh Shai, right? But how does the men follow our head? By being obedient to the instructions that have been laid out before us, right? So are we supposed to go into church and minister to the people? Hey, I'm going to tell you what the scripture says. Matthew 22:9 reads, Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye find, bid to the marriage. So the servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good, and the wedding was furnished with guests, right? Jeremiah 6:16-16. I shall send out many fishers. This is what we're doing. The ministry of reconciliation. We want to tell the children what's necessary so they could get back in good graces with the Father and escape the impending destruction. One more time, Matthew 22:9. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye find, bid to the marriage. Right? Go to the highways, not but beside a podium inside of a temperature-regulated church. And you know, all preachers, they gotta have a glass with the drink, with the cellophane over it. The church mothers come and bring it to them. You know, they gotta have the rag, and they're gonna have the sensationalism. They're gonna have the drummer on standby with the organist, because hey, that's what gets the people roused up and worn out in the spirit. You know, they want to pay you, but they want you to, hey, you're gonna have to earn this pay. So when they get worn out and they get excited, hey, they feel as though that justifies the labor of his hire, right? Let me bring this out real quick in the book of Luke 14:23. So I was just bringing this out to let the sister know that wisdom will be found in the streets. Like it says in the book of Proverbs, she utters her voice in the street. I might get that next. This is Luke chapter 14 and verse 23. And the Lord said unto his servant, Go into the highways and hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. Right? And that's what we're doing. We're compelling our people to come into obedience, because that's really what it's about. We coming out here to warn y'all people that hey, bad times are coming. Death, famine, race wars, that's coming to America, but a majority of our people, hey, they are in the spirit of mirth. They want to establish themselves here in the land of their captivity. They're moving in error. Okay. Luke 14:23 lets you know to go out into the highways and hedges. The four corners of the streets, that's where wisdom will be found, right? This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 1 and verse 20, and it reads, Wisdom crieth without, she utters her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the opening of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Hey, fools hate knowledge. That's one thing about it. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But someone operating in error, someone operating foolishly, they're going to despise knowledge, right? It says that in Jeremiah 4:22. Let me get that real quick. You know, they despise wisdom and knowledge on the right-hand side. But on the left-hand side, they'll swallow it up all day. This is Jeremiah 4:22. It reads, For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children. They have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. Right? Here it says that they are wise to do evil. Their wisdom are in things that lead to their detriment. Right? They are wise to do evil, but it said to do good they have no knowledge. Right? And what does the scripture say about the knowledge of wickedness? Is that wisdom? Right? Are people being wise to do evil? Let me bring this out in Sirach 19:22. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. Right? It said the knowledge of wickedness, being wise to do evil, that's not wisdom. Right? It says in Deuteronomy 4:5, let me bring that out real quick. What's our wisdom in the sight of the nations? Right? Is it folly? Is it devilishment? Is it to be scammers, liars, and backbiters? This is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded. here it is. The scripture said here in Deuteronomy 4 and 5, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear of all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great who have God so nigh unto them in all things? And what nation is there so great that have statutes and judgments, so righteous is the law which I set before you this day? Right? This is all wisdom in the sight of the nations. Right? The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. Right? This is the truth. Right? John 17:17. Sanctify them through thy truth. This is how we're made clean, by the washing of the word. Faith comes by hearing,